So the MLS came back. I know most of you did not watch the MLS, never have watched the MLS, but it is significant in that one of the 5 major sports in America, let's say it's fair to say NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL, MLS, in whichever order you want to count those 5, one of those 5 American team sports is now back. Last night they returned, and so that is significant. And we are moving rapidly towards the return of other leagues, including the NBA and Major League Baseball, which are substantially underway in terms of the preparation required to come back. And now the conversation has shifted, basically, to college football being under siege, because there's almost zero doubt, I would say, for all of you out there listening to me right now. I think if we opened up phone lines and I said, okay, pro sports, which pro sports aren't going to come back? I don't think there's anybody out there that's going to argue NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, or MLS aren't going to come back, because there used to be a lot of people, right? Let's kind of contextualize where we are. If we started doing this show in March when American team sports shut down with Rudy Gobert, effectively, and then college sports followed, and everything basically shut down in the immediate aftermath. And a lot of people said, oh, that's it for 2020. There's going to be no sports, right? The doom and gloomers, the fear porn buyer-inners, the Corona bros out there, all of them said there's going to be no sports for 2020. Well, they're wrong, okay? So they've been proven wrong because the MLS has now come back. It's the smallest of the 5 major American pro sports, but it is one of the 5 major American team pro sports. I'm not counting, obviously, NASCAR or golf or UFC or boxing, sports that are primarily individual-based or individual versus individual, which are different than American team sports. And certainly I'm not counting the Bundesliga or La Liga or Serie A or the EPL, any of those soccer leagues in Europe, which are underway and obviously have substantial audiences in America as well. Now the conversation has basically shifted to, are we going to have college football? Because people tend to focus on the negative. And so there are negative stories that have popped up about college football. Ohio State has stopped all athletic-related endeavors, training-wise, because they've had a lot of positive tests for the coronavirus. I believe the University of North Carolina has done the same right now in July as everybody is getting ready. I believe we are going to have college football, but for the doom and gloomers out there, they have latched onto college football because there's no other sport that they can talk about in a negative fashion right now, because they recognize NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, and MLS are all going to come back. Now, I'm not guaranteeing that everybody finishes their season, because who knows what might happen in 2020. We found out that UFOs are real according to the United States government, and it barely registered as a blip on the radar because people were like, yeah, we totally expected that. We had a Loch Ness Monster controversy, and people were like, yeah, this is 2020. So if suddenly a foreign intelligence, aliens arrived in a year that I have lived in my life, I would expect it to be 2020. So who knows what's going to happen for the rest of this year. But I do believe we're going to start all of those pro sports leagues. So about college football. Well, the Ivy League announced that they're doing no sports for the fall semester. And a lot of people are running around, oh my God, the Ivy League, they're not playing. And so people are starting to ask questions about what's going to happen with college football. And I would just continue to share the data. College football needs to be played for the same reason that my kids and your kids need to be in school this fall, because the coronavirus is almost zero threat to young people. Okay? So you got to look at the data, and this is what frustrates me. As a parent of a 12, a 9, and a 5-year-old, I feel the same way about them being back in school in kindergarten, 4th grade, and 7th grade, which is where my boys would be in school, as I do about whether a college kid should be back in school if my kids were old enough to be in college. The data reflects that if you have a kid under 15 years old that kid is 20 times as likely to die of the flu as they are of the coronavirus. 20 times as likely to die of the flu. And other than occasionally shutting down a school, we almost never do it. Now, if there are older people who don't want to teach or older people who are affiliated with schools and feel threatened, they don't have to work. And also, they shouldn't get paid. I don't know why that's a controversial statement. We have people all over this country putting their lives on the line back in March and April when we knew a lot less about this virus, and they didn't have the luxury of saying, oh, I'm scared, I don't want to go back to work, I should still get paid. Well, screw that. I'm sorry. If you don't want to go back to work or you don't want your kids to go back to school, you have that right. You never have to leave your house again. You can stay in your house forever as long as you have the money to do it. But for the rest of us out there who aren't terrified and aren't burying ourselves in the covers, the impact of kids not being in school is more substantial by far than the danger that they're under by going to school. And if you're someone like me who believes that everyone should be treated equal and that it's important for all kids to have equal opportunities at success, the kids that are struggling the most are those from lower socioeconomic classes. Because if you're fortunate enough to have functional Wi-Fi at home or parents who have the time and the luxury to be able to help try to continue to teach their kids, then your kid, and food and shelter that's reliable, then your kids are doing far better during this coronavirus shutdown than many other kids of lower level socioeconomic classes. The data is all clear. 67,000 pediatricians said it's time for kids to be back in school. 67,000 of them. Pediatricians obviously know a little bit more about kids and the unique dangers they're under than your average school board member does. Okay? So this is not a complicated situation. But for college football, I think there are two options to make sure college football happens this fall. One is you just recognize that getting the coronavirus isn't that big of a deal for young people and that you can't stop it from happening. That's the pathway that I favor. You can't stop a virus from existing on a college campus. So you can't panic when kids test positive, whether they are athletes or regular college kids on a campus. College kids are going to get together. They're going to go to bars. They are going to go to restaurants. Wherever the good-looking girls are, boys are going to follow. That's life. And when somebody gets sick, it's going to spread quickly because people live in close quarters. They share apartments. They share dorm rooms. They share so much of close physical activity in college. So option one is, and this is the one that I would favor, people are going to get sick. They're going to be fine. Most of them are going to be asymptomatic. The vast majority of them are going to experience the coronavirus as a cold. Some people, however, are going to die. You cannot stop death, even among the young people. It's going to be wildly unlikely that it happens. Kids on a college campus are far more likely to die from the flu or pneumonia by far, and yet we never do anything to stop it. Every year, kids on a college campus die of flu and pneumonia. It's rare, but it happens. As I've been saying for a while, you are more likely to be struck by lightning if you are a college kid than you are to die of the coronavirus. You are more likely, if you're a college kid, to die driving to campus than you are to die of the coronavirus. Okay? So option one is people just need to sack up. And the media in particular that's running around every time somebody tests positive as an athlete and being like, oh my God, there's another person who has the coronavirus. I don't know, what are we going to do? That's what a lot of sports media sound like. And by the way, that's what a lot of you sound like on social media too. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Somebody got the coronavirus. Jimmy Johnson's got the coronavirus. Oh my God. Sean McVay. Oh, sorry, not Sean McVay. Sean Payton. Sean Payton's got the coronavirus. That's what coronavirus panic people sound like to me. Every single time an athlete or a coach tests positive, people take to the Twitter streets and they're running around like crazy. Yeah, it's going to happen. And most of them are going to end up like Jimmy Johnson, the NASCAR driver who tested positive, like 3 days ago? And now he's already tested negative and he's back racing in the next NASCAR event. And by the way, the PGA has been underway. Remember the PGA, everybody was panicking a couple of weeks ago. Oh my God, look at all these guys who are testing positive. And the PGA had to come out with a new policy because guys were testing positive and then testing negative so quickly. So we're talking about the coronavirus for the average athlete out there lasting much shorter of a time than a sprained ankle. You might test positive for the coronavirus as an athlete on Monday and by Thursday be testing without being positive at all. In other words, like you're out for a couple of days and then you're back because you're testing negative again. So number one, we got to stop overreacting to positive tests and recognize that they're going to happen. And also recognize this. People are like, well, what happens if we play college football and somebody dies? Well, why are they more likely to die on a college campus than they would be not on a college campus? On a college campus, you have access to the best possible testing and to the best possible medical care anywhere in the country. To me, it would appear that you are far less likely to die if you are an athlete on a college campus than if you are sitting around at home where the data has shown things spread just as easily in a household and you may not ever know you have it. So that's number one. Just get over this. It's going to happen. Again, I'm focusing on college football because nobody is arguing anymore about whether the NFL, MLB, MLS, NBA, or NHL are going to play. College football has now become the focal point of the Corona bros out there, the doom and gloomers, the people who believe that we can't have a normal life. And college football, to me, is also connected to the return of kids to college or regular schools, elementary schools, kindergarten, K through 12. That's become all uniquely connected because there's a student aspect to it. Option two, which I haven't heard discussed very much, is not the one that I would favor, but it would certainly lead to being able to play college football games. And that's put college football players in effectively a bubble. This is not very difficult to do either. It's like what the NBA is doing. You take one particular dorm room or you take one particular hotel near campus, you take it over, and you put everybody affiliated with the college there, and you do all schoolwork for the fall remotely for college football players. And you say, hey, guys, if you want to play a season this year, we need you for August, September, October, and November to isolate yourself from other kids on college campuses in order to be able to play the season. If you don't want to do this, you don't have to play this year. The NCAA will grant you a redshirt season, and we will allow you to come back next year. You can stay at home and do remote learning, or you can move out of the football dorm, and you can live with the regular college kids, assuming the campus is open, but we can't allow you to go back and forth between the quarantine bubble for college football and the regular college campus. I think that is also a valid option if the playing of college football necessitates it. I don't like it as much because I would rather allow college kids to have a normal existence this fall, and I think it's panicked to every time one of these college kids tests positive to worry about it. And by the way, we haven't had anybody who's had to even be treated at a hospital for the coronavirus so far as I know who is a college football player. Doesn't mean it can't happen. And unfortunately, if it happens, which I would think is a statistical likelihood at some point in time, the media will lose its mind because that's what the media does. They spread this fear porn and try to terrify everyone. But those are the two options that to me are available for the return of college football. Just acknowledge there are going to be positives and move forward and don't worry about it, or think about creating a college football quarantine on a college campus. But I do think it's significant that all the doom and gloomers, the Corona bros, the negative Nancys, the Karens, whatever you want to call them, all of those people have moved into an argument almost exclusively focused on college football now, because they are not arguing, at least not anywhere that I can see, about the NFL, MLS, NBA, NHL, or Major League Baseball. All of those sports, everybody is now acknowledging are going to come back, and they're going to come back sooner rather than later. College football is now all the focal point. They want to be able to take something away from you because they want their fear validated, even if the fear is not reflected as being valid in any of the numbers that are out there, particularly when it comes to young people.